Hi there, hello. Listen in because I've got a great story, a true story to share with you. It's about me and a fear that I overcame and the consequences that followed on for me from that. We all know fear, it's a very powerful thing, and if we leave it unchecked, it can grow within us into a living entity that can get a hold of us and keep a control over us in our life. We're all scared of something, aren't we? Me, you, we are all scared of something. What are the fears that you have right now? What are the things that are impacting on your life right now and stopping you from doing the things that you want to do? You may want to reflect on them as my story unfolds. Ask yourself this: are your fears real or not, and are they holding you back? Because that's the problem, if they are holding you back. Fear, what is it? This is a great definition of fear. Fear is a distressing emotional thought caused by a feeling of impending danger, pain, embarrassment, or harm. And here's the thing about it: that is whether it's real or not. Now, we all know that some fears are real and that they're good for us, put in us by life to keep us safe, keep us alive. Fear like fear of heights. And we also know that there are many fears that we have that are unfounded, that there's no substance to them at all, and yet they can have a massive impact on our lives. And taken to the extreme, it is possible for a person to actually shut down their lives because of their fears. It is possible for a person to literally scare themselves to death because fear really is that kind of powerful entity. So, on to my story, and here's a bit of background first. I worked for a major blue chip company as a store manager. I was a top 5 store manager for them. Then I got let go. I didn't like it. I got down, angry and bitter about it. It resulted in me working below my capacity as a taxi driver. Nothing wrong with taxi driver, but in that job I was working below my capacity for 4 years. After 4 years, I got to a point where I found myself. I literally drove myself as a taxi driver there, unhappy. I was unfulfilled, and I possessed many skills that I was not using. And I decided it was time to step my life up again. It was time to. I decided to change the direction of my life, to go back into retail management, something that I knew, and I was going to use that as the catalyst to make my change come true for me in my life. And so this takes me to the start of my true story about overcoming fear. And as I said, I've been out of retail management for 4 years. Was a taxi driver, driving 70,000 miles a year. But here's the thing: I was going nowhere in my life, because as a taxi driver, you always end up back where you started. And I had got to the point where I decided that I was gonna change my life, step it up, as I said, because I was not happy, I was not fulfilled, and I was, with whatever I was doing, I just was not in a good place. And going back into retail, as I said, was going to be the real catalyst for my change. This is a really good saying, and it's key in this story of mine. If you don't use it, you lose it. And I hadn't been using my retail experience for over 4 years. And because of that, I had developed a major doubt. It was a fear in me that I'd lost it. I kept asking myself, can I still do it? Do I still have what it takes to do the job? So all the while, when I applied for the job, got the job, and then as I was heading for my job, to start my job on the first day, self-doubt, was growing in me, had been growing in me, and it was affecting my confidence and my self-belief. And I had this growing sense of doom in me that I was heading for a fall, that I was, actually it was the fear, because I had a lot riding on this, my future, the future of my family, which kind of, that fear seems a bit stupid now, but at the time that fear was real, living in me. It had a life, it had a real power, and it was growing. And as I said, it was manifesting itself in me. And this all came to a head for me on my first day at work for this new company, even before I'd got through the door. Because I'm going to work for a blue chip company. It was my D-Day. I was on the up. This was the first day of me changing my life. But the first thing I had to do, first of all, was to combat the fear that I had in me. Now, I'd been put on a store manager training program, and I had to report to a store in Basingstoke for this training period. And I've been looking forward to this day, but I had some fear in me looking forward to this day, and I've been mentally building towards this day for quite a long time. I was driven to make this change, but I had also got the fear in me that had got a hold of me, the fear that I just wasn't up to the job, that I had lost whatever it is that I had in me that had made me successful before, and I just had a fear that I could not, cut the crust and that I would fail. And my drive to change and my fears not to change were doing battle inside my head. There were two voices talking to me at the same time. Do you know what I mean? If you experienced that, oh, yeah, do it, don't do it. Two voices talking to me. And as I drove to that store to start my first day at work, I was filled with nerves and trepidation. And I found myself on that day of starting, sat outside the store, looking at the store from my car. I was looking at the store, I was looking at my future, and I was having this battle in my mind. Should I go in or should I just drive away? And I was sat at the time in the car that I used to taxi drive, and I kind of had this reason that I could just simply just drive away. Do you know what I mean? Start the car up, David, drive away. Go back to taxi driving where at least you feel comfortable. Start the car up and drive away from this opportunity, from your future, drive away from your fears. Get back to taxi driving. Or I could do the opposite. I could go in, put myself in it, in that store, test myself, put myself on the line and stand up to those fears. And I sat there for some time in that car in the car park, looking at the store for some time, I can tell you. And I can tell you, you don't know how much it took from me to get hold of my courage from deep inside of me to take the first step across the threshold of that store to start a new life, to start a new career, to have a new beginning. And to be able to do that, I had to go beyond my fears. I had to stand up to them and I had to face them down. Ugh. Looking back, I can tell you that was step over the threshold was one small step, one tiny, teeny tiny, insignificant step for mankind. But I can tell you this, it was a huge leap for me, David Lake, in my life. Because the truth was, I truly did not know whether I was up for the job. But the funny thing was that as soon as I stepped over that threshold, I was old David Lake again. Came straight back to me. I went up to an assistant, introduced myself, got myself taken to the store manager, introduced myself, and I started my day. And as I did, my confidence soared because I was on my way. An hour later, I was in the middle of doing my first job, my first task delegated to me, which was counting stock. And I bent down to count the stock on the bottom shelf. And as I bent down, I heard this ripping sound. And I looked down, and to my horror, I found that I had ripped my trousers from my knee up to my balls. Horror, terror, fright, like, no, this cannot be happening to me. All leapt into my mind, and panic all welled up in me. My confidence, that ran out the door. Rationalisation, that ran out the window. Over there, ran out the window. Why had this have to happen to me on my first day? I've only been in the store for an hour, and now I am coming apart at the seams. Literally, what am I going to do? What am I going to say? I was like a rabbit in the headlights, not knowing which way to turn or what to do. And my mind was racing out of control. You know what it's like? Have you been there? Are you there now? You know what I'm talking about, right? But suddenly I had this great idea come into my mind. Oh, if I could just find a stapler, I could staple my trouser leg together, make a temporary repair, get through the day. No one will ever know. And I'd keep my integrity, no problem. So that was the plan. I made my way to a till point and I kind of casually asked the cashier, if by chance you haven't got a stapler I could borrow, have you? And she did. She had one. Great. And I got it in my hands and I made my way to the toilets as discreetly as I could, Nothing to see here. I got myself into a cubicle. I took my trousers off to make the repair. Oh yeah, the other thing was, it was a really, really hot summer's day. I mean, a burning day. And this, combined with the drama of it all, made that cubicle feel like a sauna. And I can tell you that the sweat was just running off me. It was like someone was pouring a cup of water on my head. It was just running off of me. I grabbed hold of the stapler and I started to staple the seams of the trousers together. I got a third of the way through the repair. Things was going well. But then the stapler locked up on the cloth, and in my bid to free it, I mashed the stapler and it came apart in my hands. And I just went straight back into panic station mode again. My mind was off racing again. You know, no, this cannot happen to me. I'm going to have to go out there and tell that cashier that I've broken her stapler, and then I'm going to have to go and tell the manager that I've split my trousers. This can't be happening. Now, in a normal, rational world, you might ask, well, so what? What was the big deal? But in a blind panic, no confidence, oh crap world, it was an absolute disaster to me. You know, why should this happen to me? I am just trying to get on. I'm just trying to make something of myself, and I'm just trying to look after my family. And all the while, the sweat was pouring down my face. I really tried to fix the stapler in vain, but it had given up on life. It was finished, unrepairable. And so, with a heavy heart, I resigned myself to the humiliation, to the loss of face, and to the embarrassment of having to go and tell the store manager what had happened, who happened to be a lady, and not that that's got any significance or relevance to the story, but somehow to me it made it worse. So off I went to find her. Now, as some of you will know, in the retail world can be a world of banter at times, and true to fashion, when I shared my plight, my situation, my problem with her, she wasn't filled with compassion and empathy. Oh no, she laughed her blinking head off and then told everyone, and I mean everyone, got to hear about it. They all knew what had happened. So the laugh was on me, and I thought to myself, well, thanks very much. Fancy treating a new colleague like that. So I still had to try to repair my trousers. Now, the store didn't have any sewing kits. They didn't sell them. So I had to get in my car, go to a competitor's with my leg hanging out and buy one. But as I came back to the store, I decided that it would probably be a good idea for me to park my car in the service road at the back of the store where the deliveries came in, reversed up to the store, and I fixed my trousers there. So that when I walk back into the store, I'm at least walking back as a whole. I'm walking back fixed and everything to be all good and we can get on with things. So I duly parked in the road, jumped out of my car, took my trousers off, got back in the car and started sewing my trousers together. And as I was sewing, a thought just came into my head, and I thought it would just be peachy. It would just top off my day right now if the delivery turned up this minute. And you know what? You know how sometimes these things can conspire against you? Well, the blinking delivery turned up, and I found that I had a 40-foot delivery lorry tooting at me. Can you get out of the way? Because I've got a delivery to make, mate. I thought again, well, thank you very much, I thought. In the panic that ensued again, I turned my car around and I drove off with no trousers on, thinking, well, what am I going to do? As it happened, I parked in a street just down from the store, out of the way of as many people as possible. And I made my repair. And I have to tell you, I'd now make a half-decent job of it. And, you know, made that repair, and the sense of salvation within me was immense. Woohoo! Finally, I can just get back to business. Woohoo! Finally, I can just restart my training. So I jumped out of my car to put my trousers on. Looked around for my shoes. What? Hey? Where are my shoes? My shoes were nowhere to be found. And I thought to myself, when I was engrossed in my sewing, someone must have just got in my car and stole them and ran off with them, nicked them. That's not very nice, is it? I looked again, I couldn't find them anywhere. They had just disappeared. And again, I just jumped straight back into the world of panic, of disbelief, of, oh, all right then, I finally give up. Oh yeah, because why you got to do this to me? And then I remembered, as I had gotten out of my car in that service road behind the store to take my trousers off, I'd taken my shoes off. So in my haste to make the repair, I'd got back in my car and I left my shoes in the road beside the car. And when the lorry turned up, in my panic, I had just driven off and left them there to get out of the way of the lorry. And I can't tell you, like, the relief that came back to into my body. Oh, salvation again. Oh, I drive back. So I drove back to the road to get my shoes. Just thought, put my shoes on, bang, job done, get in to the store, start my training, only to discover that that 40-foot articulated lorry had reversed over my shoes, which were now flattened and crumpled, to say the least. And again, I thought, hey, great, thank you very much. And I half expected at this point for the stray dog to come up and cock its leg on my leg and wee on my leg, because that really would have finished off the sequence of events for me nicely. Anyways, I was all good in the end, trousers sewed up, crumpled shoes on, and so I went back in the store. And here's the thing, the message from this story from me to you. I nearly didn't start work that day. I nearly turned my back on opportunity because of my fears. I nearly let my fears get a hold of me, because negativity was doing its best to talk me out of doing what I really wanted to do, and I nearly succumbed. And as I said, it took a lot, and I mean it really took a lot, a whole lot, for me to get past my fears, to overcome it, and to just walk over the threshold of the door of that store to start a new chapter in my life. And I have to honestly say, you couldn't write this. I never expected that train of events that presented themselves to me, that came my way. But here's the thing about that. With all that went on, and with all my fear, etc., blah, 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 I did not die. I did not get hurt. Maybe just a little bit of my pride got hurt. I did not suffer, apart from a little bit of angst. And it did not count against me, and it did not stop me being accepted, and it did not stop me succeeding. But what it did do was to break the ice and to take down any barriers that might have been there with everyone in the store. It certainly gave everyone a great laugh, including me in the end. Once my heart stopped beating so fast, I could see the funny side of it all. And it helped me to integrate into the store very, very quickly. And you know what about the fears that I had? Here's the thing about the fears that I had about, could I do this job? Am I still good enough? They just melted away. Almost from the second that I started, the old me was there, and all that training and experience that I had was still there. And so the fears that I had that nearly stopped me from going into that store and starting a new life proved to be totally unfounded. They were red herrings sent to me by life. And they proved to be just tests sent to me by life, especially that trouser test, to test me, to see if I really wanted to change my life. And since that time, you know what? I've not looked back. I have gone on up until this very day to become a head of a business, a marathon runner, fundraiser, raising thousands for charity, an author, a speaker. Here's a significant one: a better person, a giver and a helper in life, a better husband and father, and above all, motivated, fulfilled, inspired. And this is the big one: truly happy. And I mean truly inner happy, if that makes sense. And all this might sound a little bit yucky to you, a bit like the Waltons. I know it can sound a bit yucky, but you know what? It's all true. And it is the reason why I am a speaker, and why I'm speaking and telling you this story right now. Because I want to share with you, I want to share with the world what happened to me. Because if it can happen to me and I can change my life and get over my fears, then it can happen to you and for you. There's a saying, feel the fear and do it anyway. And the message from me to you is, from my story, is exactly that: feel the fear and just do it anyway. And I stress again that many of the fears that we have no substance to them at all. They're just belief, it's myths, they're red herrings, they're traps, they're diversions, they're tests that are sent to you by life to test you out. And because of the negative conditioning of life, you've got to be careful, because we have a tendency to fall into the fear trap and to let fear dominate and dictate to us in our lives. And if we are not careful, we end up living our fears instead of living our dreams. Dream, baby, dream. They can all come true. Many of the fears that we have are based in conceit, because we make it all about us. Our fears, we make it all about us and about what people will say about us. For example, we get scared of failure because we'll be embarrassed, won't we? Or we'll be shown up by our failure. What will they think? What will they say? Oh, I will have lost face. Oh, incredibility. When all the while, at the end of the day, no one, absolutely no one, cares a damn thing about it. No one actually cares. And also, We get scared and have a fear of rejection for the very same reasons. And again, believe it, no one actually cares. We might be today's news, but we'll certainly be tomorrow's chip paper. When something bad happens, believe this because it's true. When something bad happens to you, 50% of people don't care. And 50% of people are just glad it's happening to you and not to them. And when you stop caring about what other people's opinions are of you, you truly set your mind free. You set yourself free. And that is the truth. Fear stops so many people dead in their tracks. Fear pushes people down to cancel their dreams and to shut down their lives. And fear, for some, can make them live a nightmare instead. So please, 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 please do not allow this to happen to you. As the saying goes, as I've said, feel that fear and do it anyway. If you do this and you go beyond your fear, most often you will find, as I did in my story, that there is absolutely nothing to be feared of. And that fear was just a trick, a test, as I said, sent by life. It was just a mirage that melted away when you confronted it. Going past your fears, really, believe it, I'm telling the truth, can set you free. It can open your mind. And it can open doors that can open your life. So in closing, here's a question for you, or some questions for you. What are you scared of right now? What are your fears right now? And what are they stopping you from doing right now? And what is you going to do about it? Remember, feel that fear and do it anyway. Thanks for listening. Thanks for taking the time out. Bit of a long one this, but thanks. Everything is true in this. Stand by every single word. Feel that fear and do it anyway. Be happy. Goodbye.